Welcome to the Nordic Mythology podcast. I'm Daniel Farrand of the company Hornsvoden. As always, before we jump to the show, I do have to plug our Patreon. As I said on the last episode, we've decided to only have the latest 20 episodes available for free, and the whole back catalogue now is available on our Patreon. So you get 250 plus episodes when you sign up. You get access to every episode we've ever made, bonus material, the Q&As, the story times, and then every episode of the main show. Basically, we did that for the longevity of the show. We need to try and make some funds. It does cost money behind the scenes, and at this point we've amassed such a collection that I guess we have to utilize it a bit. So if you're up to date, then there's no change. You just listen to them as they come in. Obviously, if you want to listen to those older ones, it starts from £3 a month over on our Patreon, so it's less than a cup of coffee, and the amount of information, resource on there is worth it, in my opinion. You can also get a 7-day free trial. So go over and check that out. If you can't support on there, just 5-star rating, positive review, wherever you get your podcast. Like, share. It doesn't sound like a lot, but maybe somebody else will find the podcast who is interested, and we've kind of passed them by in the last 4 or 5 years, whatever it is now. And YouTube, hit the little bell to subscribe. We're always trying to grow the YouTube. You can see all our pretty faces. And talking of pretty faces, let's get into today's show. See how smooth that was, guys? So, all right, today's guests are returning. I really enjoyed the last time I spoke to these two gentlemen. So they're the fellas from Blodorn Englar. So we have Tom, who is the Jarl of the group, and Tom, who is the Jarl of Blodorn Englar, leading the group with a warrior's focus and a craftsman's eye. Did you write this, Tom?
I did not.
Both a seasoned full-contact fighter and a professional blacksmith, Tom leads training, oversees combat standards, and is the driving force behind events like Mask Fest, the UK's only Viking Age mask fighting tournament. And then Phil serves as a Blodorn Englar skald and right-hand man to Tom, a business strategist and event manager by day. He handles the group's events and public presence, whether narrating the sagas of combat or bringing Viking warfare to modern stages like Bloodstock Festival. Phil ensures the stories of Blodorn are heard as loudly as their war cries. Wow, you can tell you're a businessman.
Yeah,
Phil.
I also write the blurbs for you, Dan.
Well, yeah. Look at that. Look at what a wonderful introduction. How are you both doing?
All good here?
Yeah, good. It's event season is ramping up, so it's it's
straight off the bat, what is it like in this? Oh, you know what? Even before that, if you didn't hear the first episode with these two, go and check that out. We go into all the different types of. Do we class as medieval combat, even though it's pre-medieval? Early medieval combat. We go into the different styles, the what you wear, how it feels, all the kind of intricacies of that. Go and listen to that other episode. Like I say, it's on our Patreon, £3 a month. But so in this one, we're going to look at the structure. We're going to talk about what you guys are up to, how things are going, and a little more in depth of the group as a whole. But first, what's it like fighting in this horrendous weather we're having at the minute? Oh, lovely weather. I quite like it. A lot of people don't. A lot of Brits don't.
It's hot yoga, basically.
Yeah, except someone's trying to stick you with a poker thing.
Violent yoga in extra heat.
That has to make a difference to tactics?
Footwear, certainly, because it doesn't matter which end of the spectrum you're on, right? So if it's chucking down with rain or it's roasting hot, the worst thing you could be wearing is wool and chainmail. So it doesn't matter which way the weather's going, it's going to suck, basically. But yeah, footwear is probably the biggest consideration. If it's dry, you're slipping. If it's wet, you're slipping. If it's temperate, moderate, you're genuinely slipping.
So do you have to wear authentic footwear? You can't just rock up in some Docs.
No, so for the shows where they're fully authentic, you'd be wearing all of the correct clothing and shoes of the time period. Whereas when we're training, a lot of guys will train in boots and trainers, which is all well and good, apart from when you get to events and you haven't quite got the same amount of grip as you had while you were training.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a fine balance to know how much tread to get used to while you're training.
So are you, for the authentic ones, are you wearing, is it just like a flat leather soled shoe? Like when you buy an expensive pair of men's shoes, dress shoes, and you'd put them on and slip all over the place.
We're quite fortunate.
You have to go in the car
We've got
park
a lot
and scuff them
of
up.
craftspeople in our group. So actually, it's like only a couple of weeks ago, I had a new pair of Jorvik shoes made for me. So they had their first outing this weekend, and it literally is just a leather turn shoe. So all historically made, no additional protection to them, no grip really, exactly as you would see in the Jorvik Museum. So that's what we go with, although with a slight addition of a nice furry wool insole.
Well, I guess they can't check what's inside.
No.
So are you all in the car park before on the gravel, just scuffing the bottom of those up to get a little bit of grip?
You'd be surprised how little that makes a difference when you're on either wet grass or dry grass. To be honest, like whether there's like a slightly rougher leather surface or a dead smooth leather surface, you're pretty much getting a similar amount of traction because it's about the weight distribution, really.
Yeah, my only experience is when I bought a pair of Brogue boots that had a flat leather bottom, and it was the first time wearing anything like that, and I walked on a polished floor and quickly realized how slippy leather actually is as a sole.
It makes you very, very aware of your footwork and your balance, which is interesting. And also because of how tactile and grounded you are, because there's no like arch support or anything. It's just completely flat. So you do feel very, very grounded. They're really genuinely quite comfortable, like shoe-wise. But if you get hit in the top of the foot, it sucks. It sucks so much.
Does that happen often?
Yeah.
Are they not?
Well, not intentionally, but it happens. It happens.
Would that be when you're already going down, or could you in theory be the person who goes around poking feet?
Yep, they're in target. So with one of the systems that we talked about last time, Huskal, which is the full body target. So the only thing that's not a target is your face and neck. Everything else is in. We do have a bit of a gentleman's agreement to avoid going for the feet as much, but they're definitely in. So if you get hit in the foot, you're going to know about it.
And if you'd like to try and kick people's shields as well, then obviously you're just presenting a target for people.
Do you get people who, because I imagine, a lot of this seems to be extremely well organized. Everybody takes it quite serious. But do you occasionally get people who just try the front kick to the shield, kind of Sparta-esque? Does that work? Is that like a real move?
Yeah, it's a go-to for me personally.
I thought it'd be like a little rogue thing that somebody did. So it's a
particularly in a 1v1 situation, it's quite good if you can get a foot on top of somebody's shield boss. You can bring the shield down and fully expose them, so you can then target their head, shoulders, upper arms a lot easier. So it's a legitimate move.
I always feel like I don't know, sticking my foot out there, I'm going to end up like the Black Knight off Monty Python. It's just, I don't know. But I guess, if you're quick enough, it's a legitimate thing.
It's a very aggressive move. It's normally when someone has got too close. So realistically, you wouldn't ever want to be in that sort of range where someone can kick you. Mm-hmm. However, if you get that close that someone can kick you, then you're on the back foot immediately.
Do you ever get the I don't know why this is all coming to me right now. Maybe it shows the type of day I've had. Do you ever get the moments that you see in the movies where people throw down their shields and they're like, fuck the shields? Where sword on sword, that kind of stuff?
Not like not on purpose. So what happens
Okay.
is shields will get like hooked with with an axe or a winged spear or something, and someone will be able to like pull their shield out of their control, and then you are stuck without a shield, and you've got a choice as to whether you give up or carry on in that setting.
It
That is
does
so
happen.
interesting.
Like for example, if because often I'm on a Dane axe, which is a longer weapon, so I don't have a passive shield or a shield with me. If somebody pulls that Dane axe out of my hand, I just all you've got is your sidearm or your sword to hand, so you are fighting without a shield. You tend to kind of see it more theatrically in Western fighting if they're putting a bit of a show on. There's a bit of storytelling involved, but the only time it kind of really happens in that context is there is a bit of an honour system. A lot of events that we do, particularly with other groups in the UK, is we have a hug round as a kind of a final closing crescendo for a lot of public facing events where the final line fight is everyone's kind of like geared up shouting, and then they'll run at each other, throw their shields and swords down, and then basically it just becomes a great big dog pile.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have fun.
You do. Particularly if somebody's speed bagging you in the nuts with a spear. It's almost like you want to wrestle them to the ground at that point.
Yeah. Do you get that where, because I'm a petty man. So if somebody does something to me, I'm going to go hunting for them the whole time. And probably it will end up worse for me in the long run, because that's not what you want to do. You want to kind of stay as a team, I guess, and work together. Whereas if somebody annoys me, I'm like, oh, motherfucker, I'm getting you and I'm going to follow you. And do you do that? Does that happen?
Oh, yeah. You can single them out, but equally it's battlefield tactics. So there's a great example this weekend, but we've got a rather boisterous gentleman in our group who managed to take out 9 people in one run by basically running down the entire line. And that was a bit of a retaliatory tactic, shall we say. So it does happen. You like single people out. But it's all in good spirit.
Yeah. So when it comes to the foot, because this has fascinated me, do you think that would be a tactic used in actual, in early medieval combat? Do you think that's something that would have been done? Because I guess, to take out a foot is to immobilize someone, but also why would you kind of aim for the foot? And I'm curious as to your thought on kind of doing this. And obviously it's not live. You're not actually getting stabbed, but it's as close as you're going to get without being stabbed. So yeah, what do you think? Do you think that's something people may have done?
Yeah, we see it in the skeletons from battle graves, and you see injuries to the feet. However, with the mask fighting, you kind of get a chance to do some of the more experimental archaeology side of the combat. So you'd think going into it that having a round shield that covers most of your torso, that your legs are incredibly exposed, your legs and feet. So you'd think that a lot of people would be going for those areas where the shield isn't covered. However, when you're in a situation, like a combat situation, and you've got a spear that's going to get stuck in things, it's going to get stuck in the ground, it's going to get stuck in someone, any sort of mishit could have really fatal implications on you. We've worked out that actually you have to be pretty certain of your accuracy to be able to get a shot on target onto the foot or on target onto the shin. Especially the shin, actually. It's very easy for a shin shot to not be quite aligned up, and then it just sort of skids off, and then you've lost all of that advantage that you have of putting a strike in, and then you've exposed yourself, essentially.
Yeah, and I guess if the spear hits the ground, it could be snapped. Is that something that, I don't know if you guys can do that in what you do? Are you allowed to break things?
Yeah. I mean, you see it in the big fights that we do, where you are up against other groups, a lot of the people that you don't even know.
It's encouraged.
yeah, you're trying to break their spears because you don't know how. If they brought another one, you could essentially take a spearman out of the whole fight by him not having a second spear.
If you break his spear, can he run to the back and grab another one if he's got one?
You've got one.
Oh, wow.
So you've either bought some time, or maybe you've taken him completely out of the fight if he hasn't got a second weapon.
How do they control sharp shafts of spears not poking into you guys? Because obviously all the weaponry's checked, I guess, and blunted.
Yeah, so you've weapons checked before the fights start to make sure that things aren't literally like hanging off or about to fall off. But also you've marshals watching every fight. So as soon as something breaks, something goes, they'll be the first to know about it. I've had, you have swords break. At Bloodstock last year, I broke a sword over someone's head. And luckily, the broken bit of the sword went back into the arena. But your biggest worry is that it's going to go into the crowd.
Yeah.
And that's
a souvenir.
You can't control. Yeah, you can't control where, if something breaks, exactly where it's going to go.
Mm-hmm. It's a dangerous sport. No matter how much, how many precautions you put in place, there's always that risk, isn't there, with smashing people with swords and axes, whether they're blunt or not.
100%. The risk is always there. All you can do is slightly lessen it with, if you do your risk assessments on what we do, there are certain controls that you can do, like making sure that you check the weapons, making sure that everyone is trained in how to use them, making sure that you've got first aiders on site and ready to go if something goes wrong. So those risks remain the same, but you can do various things to mitigate it, to sort of.
So, okay, getting into that side of things, the training, the group as a whole. Phil, you kindly sent me your chart over that I've been just scrolling up through. How does that work as a structure and a hierarchy? Because it seems as though you have different steps. People get different roles as they advance. They get a lovely new shield, or at least like they're allowed to paint new things on their shield as it goes up. And I have to say, the Jarl one does look the best. So, Tom, you are definitely looking the coolest of the group.
Well, I was the one that brought in the red shield, and I kind of missed my red shield, to be honest.
Is it not still the red shield? This one that's on here?
No, so the Jarl shield is a black shield with red
teeth.
Teeth.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I was looking at.
Yeah, whereas the shield that I had before, when I was the second in command, was the red shield with white teeth, and that was my favourite of the shields.
And that's now
okay.
X-Men shield. So it's adapted and changed over time as the group's evolved, as different people have held the role of Jarl. So as it's evolved and changed, the charter is kind of adapted and different things are brought in. So we have some potentially fundamentally large changes to the identity of the group happening this year as well, because it's actually Blodorn's 10-year anniversary. So the group's been going for a decade now, which we'll be celebrating at the end of the year. But yeah, the shields and the hierarchy side of things, a lot of what's in it, so the naming conventions, the roles that are held, are obviously inspired through historical reference and terminology. But fundamentally, it's just like any other kind of community group where it allows it to have a level of function and structure, because it takes a village, right? Yes, it's a hobby, but it does take organisation. There's finances involved. There needs to be a level of structure and leadership involved, particularly when, like Tom says, you can only manage risk and mitigate it. You can't eliminate it. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of part of what the purpose of that actually is. The hierarchy and the shields is it kind of gamifies it a little bit, really, because it is a reward structure. It's people take pride when they first start. It's such an unnatural thing. Like there's not many people that'll come off the street and have held a sword and a shield before and know, biomechanically how that works and the kind of function of it. But it allows a level of visual progression internally within the group as well, which a lot of people see as a kind of point of pride. You start off with a blank shield, just with the Blodorn group's red ochre and black, half and half.
So that's the, I guess, recruit
So that's the
level. So
recruit
that's
level when people first kind of join into the group, and that's the starting point. And that obviously denotes somebody that's new to the group, newly established. But as they then begin to progress, level of commitment, because again, it's not a particularly cheap hobby to get involved in. You've got all of the weaponry and the clothing, soft kit, training kit, protective equipment, all the historical stuff. It spirals pretty quickly. So yeah, once people then progress, it's then the adornments then represent their level of progression, commitment, and contribution to the group.
I was going to say roughly, what's a kind of setup cost? Because you could tell me it's 10,000, or you could tell me it's 500 or a couple of £100. I would have no idea.
So I worked this out fairly recently. Dependent on what weapon you go for about £400, you can kind of get yourself started. So that's a helmet. You're talking 200, 250. Then you're looking at a shield, which is about 150, depending on where you get it from.
Could you, with something like a shield, could you make that yourself?
A lot of us do. Yeah.
Are there rules to that when it comes to using it in combat, or is it literally if you can carry it, it has to be functional to a degree? So
it's more strong recommendations. So we've had people join the group and they have pushed the limits of what they think that they can carry, whether that's like the hugest big round shield to try and get the most coverage to not get hit. But then obviously you sacrifice its usability because it's heavy and big. So
did I tell you about the shield I made last time when you were on?
No, I don't think so.
So when I first got into all this, I made a shield that I read somewhere that it was like the distance from your closed hand to like your elbow times 2 plus 2 inch. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I went on.
Seems big.
Well, it's about to get bigger. So I made it that size. I had a boss for the middle. I got a side of leather for the front, because if I do something, I do it to like the best that I can. So I got like a side, some leather for the front to go on there, because I read that the leather protects it better. Am I right? That it stops the wood splitting?
It's often more pitch and linen rather than leather.
Okay. Well,
which is a reenactorism. It's just what we do because it's cheap.
Yeah.
However, the real shields were rawhide, so it's more like a drum skin, if you imagine that.
So I did rawhide around the edge to like. I got the rawest of rawhide and soaked it in water and nailed it on, and I was really happy with it. But the wood that I got, I could only find 22 mil, like pine. Yeah, I see your face there, Tom. So I was like, I read that it should be like 12 or something, or I don't know. It was around that, and I was like, I could only get 22 mil ply. And I was like, it's all right, it'll be fine. And then when I finished it, I went to pick it up, and I was like, it seems a little bit heavy. I don't think that most people have been carrying this. Yeah, it was a thing. I've still got it.
That's quite an interesting point that it kind of leads on to, though. Shields are one of the things that are probably the furthest from the historical finds that we have to use because of what we do. So using blunt weapons, it trashes shields essentially, because you are just literally hammering something blunt onto the edge of a shield. Whereas historical shields taper right the way down to 3mm edges.
Yeah, so I remember.
Really, really thin. Our swords are about 3mm edges, so literally about the same thickness as you can imagine on a blunt sword was what the edges of the shield were. So super light, but also the idea of a shield was to catch weapons, like a spear net, they're referred to as. And that's purely that if someone puts in a shot and you can catch their edge, you've got control over their weapon.
So in a way, I guess they want it to sink into it. Obviously not split it, but go in and then grab,
Yeah.
and you can twist and pull it away. Well, you couldn't do that with my shield.
Well, you wouldn't be able to twist it or anything. I think lifting would be the difficult bit.
I could get. I mean, at the time anyway, I was a fairly strong boy, so I could get it up. But there's no way I could walk around and hold it. I couldn't do much with it once it was up there. It
Story
was
of my life.
yeah. I do still have the shield. I'll at some point I'll get it out and show it to the world. This
So many
monstrosity.
Yeah, but typically within what we do as well is like you'll find you'll go through a shield a year. You know, if they are being put there, a lot of people will make them. They can range anywhere from sort of 60, 70 centimeters up to 100, 110, depending on the size and the build of the person. And they do, like Tom says, they get absolutely trashed. So it is, again, like repairs, making sure that, you know, the all of the rivets are in place, the handle's not loose, the rawhide's not hanging off. So you become pretty proficient with a lot of the crafting side of things because you have to maintain your kit and your equipment.
Mm-hmm. Are there any groups that are just full of really wealthy people who just have like the best stuff out there, like the Chelsea of the early medieval combat world that can just throw money at having great stuff?
No,
I don't think, not with the combat so much. You do get reenacted groups though that are really good at portraying the material culture of grave finds and the wealthy status. But in general, they're not the combat based groups because those people have slightly different priorities.
Mm-hmm.
But it can be a bit of, like you say, so you can get started pretty cheaply, you know, some riot pads that you can get under soft kit, quite cheap, 20, 30 quid. And then as long as you've got a decent kind of helmet, gloves, hand axe, shield, you're pretty much off to a good start. And then from there, it progresses depending on how much people get involved. A lot will use kind of like padded motorcycle equipment or protection underneath their soft kit, because obviously you have to take certain liberties doing the stupidity that we do. But it's always covered by historically accurate, or as accurate as you can possibly get, kit and equipment. And there is a scale to it. You know, if you want full chainmail, the sky's the limit with that. You know, you can talk, there's another couple £100 on top of it. And if you've got like blingy belts and all of these kind of things. But for the most part, it's accessible because you've just got people in, you know, tunics and relatively modest kit. And you'll have a helmet for a fair few years. You know, your sword pretty much for life, you know, as you kind of go through, unless you do snap it over somebody's head. So, yeah, most of the stuff ends up becoming a longer term investment, but then your kit and style tends to adapt over time. When people get involved and they begin progressing through ranks and they go into different events and they're experiencing different things, they're meeting different groups, they're learning new stuff, researching different grave finds or, you know, historical periods or aspects of the culture, then you start to steer and change. You know, the kit and the equipment I started with when I first joined was pretty vastly different to where I am now with it. But I set pretty early on that I wanted to be pretty much focused on the German burial and that time period, where for everything is then structured around that grave. Whereas it's more accessible to just go Saxon with a tunic and a spangle helm. You know, we've got people that will portray more Norman kind of kit and equipment there. So then you're looking at things like kite shields being involved. So yeah, it's up to the individual. It's a form of expression, like it is with anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. What's the turnaround like when it comes to recruits? Do you get a lot of people who come and just stick with it? That like they'll come once and that's it, or do you get quite a few people who come for maybe a training session? Can you just have a turn up and be like, I want to have a go, see what it is, and some people go, this isn't for me, this is a bit, because I imagine it hooks you because it's part of a community. I know for a fact if I did this, if you guys were close to me, I would just get hooked. I know I would, It's right up my street. I would be obsessed because that's the kind of person I am. I've got an obsessive personality. This would just get me, and I'd be like, oh, that's my thing now. I go hit people with swords on a weekend. That's so. Imagine it does pull you in and get his claws in.
Yeah, for about every 2 people that get stuck, you'll get like one person that decides it isn't quite for them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's very hard because like 1 year you'll get a whole load of people that absolutely stick with it, and then some years you'll get people that aren't quite as keen on it, and it's difficult to quantify because it is the luck of the draw as to what type of person finds you and how quickly they get the bug.
Are there defectors? Can you like pull people from other groups? Because I guess a lot of it depends on where you live. Well, you guys don't live that close to each other, do you?
Yeah, I can pretty much see him from here. So.
Oh, okay. Well, you do then.
No, it's an interesting question because, like, again, within the UK, there's probably only about 250 people that do the type of combat that we do, which is why, like, we travel. Like next week, we're heading off to Volin, which is like the Super Bowl of weaponized autism. But yeah, in regards to the groups, we all play in the same sandpit. So we all know each other, and obviously the groups are very kind of regional in regards to kind of catchment area, but people dip in and out, and it's all very, very collaborative. So as some groups either grow or dissipate over time through interest, then like we've just had an influx of a couple of people from other groups. We've had people that come from Western groups that are looking for something a little bit more when it comes to the combat side of things. So they'll kind of migrate to doing what we do. But to your previous point about the kind of the drop off rate, it's sometimes difficult to then look back at what I was expecting when I first joined Tom and the guys in the group, because it's like, yeah, come and learn to play with sword and shield, and you'll have a spectrum of people. Some will be like real male bravado, like, yeah, I'm going to come in and I'm just going to leather people.
I bet.
But sometimes it's the people that sit and work quietly in front of a computer that end up being more proficient than the meathead MMA guy that thinks he's going to come in with all that, and they're the ones that don't last, and then the ones that have a slightly different outlook. But it attracts people because there's so many different things. It's not just the combat. It is like for me, it ended up being it's finding your tribe, because it's taking things back to the simplicity of it. It's like you got a fire in front of you, warm clothes on your back, good people around you, food in your belly, drink in your hand, and then you get to do spicy cardio with your mates, dressed up, hitting each other with swords. So it's kind of the whole load of things that attract people to it. The group side of things, as it's the collaborative element of everyone coming together. We all travel around the country to meet up with each other to do this, because there's so few people in the UK that do the combat we do. So it's limited opportunities for us to all then get together.
So how often do you guys train as a group?
Weekly.
Every Sunday.
So would your core members all live in your area, or is there that one crazy guy who drives an hour and a half each way just for that training session?
Jake.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Lee's not super close. I think he's about an hour at least.
Yeah, for the most part within a kind of 50-mile catchment area, but we've got the odd people, because again, it's like particularly if you're like a 30, 40-year-old bloke, it gets harder to kind of find your tribe and your mates. And when you kind of bond over something that, then, you do go out your way, because it's your hobby. It absolutely is your hobby. It's like going to do Sunday league football, or, it's that community aspect of it. So people will travel for it. But equally, we travel all across the country to catch up with each other. So I've just gotten back from doing a training event up in Moorforge in Cumbria, which is a beautiful site. So North Cumbria, just north of the Lake District, where a farmer over the last couple of years has been building a Viking village up there. So he's got essentially like a 30, 40-foot long house that they've built up there. And we have a big training event, which then draws in people from all over the country. So we had Drengskapper as a group based down near Exeter. So they're like 6 hours, 7 hours travel up there.
Mm-hmm.
You've got several of our guys that went up, and that's again 6, 7 hours cross country. You had people from, so you've got Storada Herd based around Edinburgh. So they come down from Scotland for it. You've got Oda Herd, who are a group predominantly based around Manchester, that then travel up for it. And we all collaborate on each other's events. So that's kind of the beautiful thing about it. We're seeing a lot of them out in Wolin in Poland next week. And then they will all then make the efforts and then travel down to us for our anniversary event in September down here as well. So,
I bet that's going to be fun.
Well, you should come, Dan.
If there's an invitation for me,
yeah, man.
I'll come, and you can, as long as I can have a little go before the party and the drinking.
No.
I can.
You'll get you stuck right in.
Put like a little helmet on. I can have a go at it. I'd love it. Honestly, I know I would. Like just fall in love with it because it's
in all seriousness. So, like, if you wanted to come down, it's going to be a party. Like there is. So it's at the same time as an event on. So normally our reckonings are closed to the public, whereas this is on at the same time as another event. So we've amalgamated, and so there's going to be public there, but there's be living history groups from all over the place, all descending on Ston and Barnes in Suffolk. So if you wanted to do any sort of podcasting or whatever from there'll be a lot of Viking related stuff going on.
When is it?
The 12th to the 14th of December. Or September, rather. Sorry.
I was going to say, you picked a time there.
So we used to do it in October. We used to have a bit of a running thing established by one of our guys, Ben, which was basically pumpkin carving. So we'd do it around Halloween. That was nice. A fan favourite. Pumpkin carving competition done with reenactment weapons. Messy and hilarious, but now the weather's so unpredictable, we've moved it to towards the end of or sort of mid-September to be able to do that now.
Yeah, I imagine you want to keep it as dry as you can.
You can never guarantee it, but it's daylight as well is another thing. The more daylight you have to play with, the better, because it's a 2-day event. It's including Western fighting, Eastern Huskarl fighting. We're essentially holding our event within the event. So there's historically relevant and respected traders there. It's a great showground site, but we have a massive Viking camp that we build. And like Tom says, it's our 10-year anniversary, so we're going to be having a pretty loud shindig.
Okay, yeah, I'll come. I'd love that. We'll talk after. I would. Makes me excited.
You'll know everyone there. The amount of our mutual friends from the whole Jorvik gang will be coming, mate. So
I'm sure. Look at a little smile on my face. I just think it'd be so much fun just to have a little go. But if I came as a recruit and I was brand new, how long does it take to then get onto the battlefield at an event? Is that something you can just turn up once you've got the kit safety wise? I guess you're okay. Can you just get put out there? Because I guess they're representing you as a team, as a company. You want a certain level of competence, I guess.
Yeah, so a little bit it's on a case-by-case basis. So you get, like Phil said, we've had some people coming. I mean, I came across from Western as well, but we've had other people come across from other groups that do different types of combat, but they already have all of the kit. They've been swinging swords around for a long time. All that's changing really is the sort of target zone that we're using. So they're going to be a lot quicker to get to a stage where they are representing the group, like you say, in a way that we'd want to be represented. Whereas there are some people that are sort of slower to get to that stage and would be sort of still quite timid and anxious about the idea of being on a larger scale battle. So the nice thing about what we do is that because we make up the rules, we self-govern it, we control it, we train people. You can take it entirely on a case-by-case basis. As to when you think someone's ready to get fully stuck in.
Oh, I bet the nerves before you go out are so exciting. It makes me excited just thinking about it, because I can just imagine getting all kitted up with your friends. But it's still a scary thing. You don't really know what's going to happen. You're about to run into a bunch of other mainly men who are going to try and kick you and hit you with things and stab your feet. That's nerve-wracking no matter who you are. Every time it's got to be a little bit of like, and then
Your first event with other groups is always an interesting one, because when you train rigorously, you're training with your own tribe, your own people, and you get to know each other's fight styles, their approaches, their level of aggression, even kind of like combat patterns with different things. But it's then going up against the complete unknowns. So, great example. We have a guy that joined our group maybe 3-4 months ago, I think it was. So it was his first event this weekend up at Cumbria. So first official event outside of what we do with Blodorn Englar. And he was, it won't disrespect him in any way, he was a bag of nerves before he stepped onto the battlefield, absolute bag of nerves. And then we put him in for his first bridge fight tournament. And the second we started, the kill switch went from nerves to absolute little angry Jack Russell. And he smashed it the entire day. So much so he drove himself to exhaustion and ended up throwing up. So it was just like, you saw a completely different side to him. So it's like, it's a really fascinating kind of aspect to it, because it is nervous because you don't know anyone. But then the beautiful thing after beating 7 bells of crap out of each other is afterwards we're all dancing, we're all laughing, we're all drinking, we're all celebrating across all the different groups. And it's just, that's a real rewarding kind of thing.
I bet the evenings are so much fun.
Oh, it's a riot. Absolutely.
Yeah, I used to be terribly nervous before every game of rugby I ever played. I had every thought in my mind of injury that could happen, but as soon as the whistle goes, that all disappears. And I imagine it's the same kind of thing. As soon as there's legitimately somebody running at you with an axe or a sword or a spear, that you don't have time to think about fear anymore, or the worries, or life in general, which is why I love all this kind of stuff. And recently I got back into jiu-jitsu, because you can't think of the world, the stresses of business or making props for things. That doesn't exist for however long the fight goes on. It's you and your buddies and whoever's swinging this heavy thing at you. And that's a real escapism that I think we all need. And it's just like really freeing.
I think
I love it.
It's a large part of what attracts the majority of people to the reenactment scene side of things. It is that disconnect from the modern world. It's just so nice to just sat there, not thinking, I need to pay that phone bill, or or I've got this, or it's just you sat there with good people, enjoying the simple things in life.
Now, if I joined as a recruit, would I have to do all the shitty jobs around camp?
Different groups have different kind of structures. So, for example, there are some groups around the UK that do, for a lack of a less clumsy term, do have a slave culture within their group.
Years ago, I got asked to go. I'm not going to name the group because I don't know if it's frowned upon or not. But this was 5 or 6 years ago. There was a group like, "Oh yeah, you should come." And then I was talking to them. And then there was this, they got into this whole kind of thing about how once you start, you have to, and I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm, as a grown man, I'm not having another man tell me I have to go and like do all these really shitty menial things when we're all just here to have fun. And I was like, I appreciate that you do that, but me as a person, I just couldn't do it. We'd end up falling out, because I get it to a degree, but if it was like bordering on like the disrespectful side of things, where it was like a little bit cocky about it, I'd be like, well, we're just going to fall out, because that's not how I am.
There's a few rituals, shall we say, within the group, particularly for newer people.
I get that, like initiation types. We used to have. I was at rugby. You used to have to. What was that? I think it was. on the coach back, especially from like an away game, like if we've been playing Cumbria, we'd all get pissed and have a, I think you'd have to, if it was your first game, strip naked and just sing a song. And I was like,
being naked with you rugby boys, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't know. But I tell you what, there's not many things that'll make it all shrink up, like having to strip naked in front of everyone and just sing something like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. It's a terrible feeling. And that would be ours. So like silly little stuff I get, because it is as weird as it might sound to people on the outside, it is bonding in a way, because everyone's done it. It's that silly little thing that you all laugh at. It's harmless, and you all just kind of have a little giggle and be like, yeah, haha.
Yeah, no, the closest thing we'd get to that is that we do strumming, which is the fermented herring.
Okay, yeah.
Rotten fish. And it's not enforced in any way, but you know who's done it and who's not, and you feel a bond with the people that are willing to put like something disgusting in their mouth because you share that.
There's a lot of rugby players who put disgusting things in their mouths as well.
Yeah, there's certainly some stories from it. Yeah,
yeah. There's much worse stuff that went on. Yeah, the is it fermented shark?
No, you're thinking of the hokal, which is an Icelandic delicacy, but no, this is essentially fermented herring in a tin.
Oh, okay. I'm guessing it's similar. I think Craig fed me the fermented shark on the Will I Viking podcast.
Oh yeah, Craig Brooks.
Yeah, I think that was fermented shark. I didn't think that was as bad.
Not in
as
comparison,
I thought.
no. So the Greenland shark is an Icelandic delicacy, and I had it out there actually, and it's just a bit blue cheesy. And the ammonia, because obviously it is sat there in open air fermenting, is not quite as bad as the surströmming, particularly if certain people leave said can of surströmming sat on radiators for several months and they look like they're going to go off like a freaking hand grenade. That's a slightly different story.
Well, if you come to the restaurant,
I mean,
don't scare.
I will. If that's what I have to do, I'll try it. We can I'll either film it. We'll film it, and I'll have a go. So I'm guessing your group isn't one that has a, for better term, slave culture, or
no. So the thing with reenactment groups is kind of whoever sets them up can create whatever culture they want that group to be. Obviously, you do have changes as people like take over and whatever else, but in general, like it's whoever sets up the group that normally, creates how they want the group to be. So just like you'd have with like a five-a-side football team or whatever else, you have certain things that probably most groups have. They probably have a treasurer, they probably have a secretary, and they probably have a group leader of some sorts. But then other than that, you've got pretty much free reign to be like, oh, we want our recruits to do this or to have to do this, or we're going to have a whole hierarchy system where you can't wear this color unless you've been in the group for this long, and you can't buy nice things because you're a low-class peasant when you join or something.
Yeah, that sounds very similar to what I was told. And I was like, well, what if I want something nice? I don't want to spend years just wearing a linen tunic and nothing else, or very little. And I was like,
don't get me wrong, some people enjoy that. Some people like the sort of career ladder style version of their hobby, and they can be like, oh, well, I've been in it this long, so I'm allowed to wear this brooch or whatever. For us as a combat based group, really not a thing. What you do on the battlefield screams, to everyone what you're willing to do, where you stand in the group, how much you're respected is it's easy to see.
And when it comes to the group stuff, like, it does take a village. You lug in kit and equipment and group tarps and tents, and there's cooking and there's go get water. Everyone just mucks in. We've got such a broad spectrum of people. We've got a lot of partners and families and children in the group as well. So it doesn't make sense to have that kind of hierarchy with us. It's just everyone's in it for the same objective, and it works really well.
That's got to be wonderful for kids.
Oh yeah,
They must love it. They get to go to school, and to them, they've been back in time to like a real historical kind of medieval village, and they get to watch fighting. That's got to be just magical.
yeah. It adds another dynamic as well. You got like the little ones running around in full historic kit as well. You know, it is a vibe, and they're hilarious to have about. You know, we've got some right characters in our group, shall we say?
I bet. So, how long does it take to get from recruit through to, like, I'd say, a warrior? Somebody who, because you have, like I say, there's a couple of ones before that. Can you be on the battlefield at any point in that journey, or is it only when you get to a certain level you then are allowed?
Yeah, should we do a little rundown of the of our ranks, shields essentially?
Sure.
View file. So obviously, yeah, like I think Phil said when we first started, when you join, sort of your first shield will be just black and red, and that is basically like my first shield, whatever group you come from. No matter how good you are, when you first start out, that will be your shield that you'll start off with.
So there's no bypassing. That's where you are.
No,
exactly.
Oh, I like that.
So there's no bypass now. Everyone will start off with that shield. However, the steps will be at different times, dependent on like how long it takes you. So our next step is a shield man, which is where we put the teeth just on the inside of the boss, or sort of around the boss rather than around the outside.
Tell you what,
and that
let's have a little aid, shall we? I know you like this. So these are the ones Tom's referring to.
That shield must be a lot lighter than my one, or you're really strong.
It comes over time. You can see where they've been used to catch swords. You can see where obviously I've got maintenance issues I need to take care of after this.
Yeah.
Little bit of work to do.
Who does the teeth? Do you guys do it, or do the
depends on different. I was very lazy, and actually, the guy that made this shield in the group for me was kind enough to do the teeth. We've got others in the group that will bribe their partners to do them
because they look they're very neat. I wouldn't know where to even start to work out like the circumference of the circle and divide it by all the.
When you're starting, like Tom says, the first level with recruits, you've just got plain shield, so just the ochre and the black. At that point, so you just split right down the middle in the same distance as the handle, right? So it's a straight line. From there, it's pretty easy because you've just got a start, like essentially you're just doing 2 squares, basically.
Yeah.
So that's the next point, as Tom was saying. So shieldman is once you've started to demonstrate a level of commitment, you get in your own kit together, and you're investing in the group. You're showing commitment. You're beginning to progress. That's your first adornment. That basically means that you're not just a recruit anymore. You're a fully kind of fledged member of the group.
How is there a set time roughly? Is it months, years, or does it just purely depend?
It's normally within the first 6 months of someone joining that they've got their kit. Every now and again, someone will, due to having a demanding job or the opposite, not having a job and not being able to necessarily make or buy enough stuff, that might take them longer to get to that stage.
Like some that don't even have a shield to put them on.
Do you have criteria of what you're looking for? I guess, Tom, are you in charge of who gets what when? And is there like a list of things that you're like, right, they can now do this, this, and this, they've got this, it's time to move up? Or is it just a feel when they're feel ready?
Yeah, you can normally tell it's when someone's done like at least one sort of big event, and they've started on their way to pretty much having most of their kit sorted. So you've got like those visual tells of whether they actually have their own stuff or whether they're still using borrowed group kit. But also just how involved they are in the group, whether they are making it to a lot of trainings, whether they're helping out when you need help to set up the camp or whatever else. You can see when someone's invested in a group or not.
Yeah.
And different people, it takes different amount of time. Sometimes someone will be a little while before they'll realize, oh, actually, this is something I'm really into. Like, I really want to make the commitment to the hobby. And then once sort of I've sort of assessed that I think that they're ready to go, then I would put it to my warriors, who are the core of the group, and we'll get to what makes a warrior in a bit. But I then put it to them and just be like, "Do you reckon this guy is ready for his inner teeth?" Because I'd like to award it to him at the next event that we do, and then provided everyone says yes, then they'll get their inner teeth.
What? Just a quick interjection. What does that look like? The awarding, because that has to be really rewarding for the people when they get them. They must be completely made up. So, like I say, I got back into my jiu-jitsu journey, which I used to be on, stopped, go back into it. And anybody who, you start out at a white belt and you get these little bits of tape around the end of your white belt as you go along your journey towards your blue belt. And when you get 3, then the 4th one is technically like the blue belt. That little bit of fucking masking tape means the world. And it's a little bit of masking tape that wraps around the end of your belt. And you're like, I've put fucking months of effort in to get this, and somebody's recognized it. It's a silly little symbol, but it genuinely means a lot. And that I imagine that's the same with this. You must see people really beaming.
It's interesting. It's one of those ones where you kind of get a little window into someone's psychology. Some people, they'd just be like, "Oh, great! Now I've got to paint some
a chore."
And some people will literally go around the circle, shaking everyone's hand and getting incredibly excited about the whole thing. So I think it's a nice way of seeing how different we are, and how although the group all has a shared hobby, people come at it from so many different directions, and everyone's got such different psychology with it, based on how much they get out of it.
There's different kind of awards based on, so we'll get to the next kind of levels, but like the inner one is often Jarl bestows that, during or after an event. It's often around when everyone's around, we've all got a drink, and then it's all kind of like the camaraderie of it. The next stages are then a little bit more kind of symbolic and kind of ceremonial, shall we say?
So you have the herdsman next.
Yeah, so this is the to put the outer teeth around your shield. Now, this isn't so much about what you've bought, what you've invested, or whether. This is about your skill and fitness on the battlefield.
Okay, so Phil, you have the herdsman there. Was that the herdsman?
Yeah. So we have the same shield. We'll get to the warrior as well, because I hold warrior rank, but it's the same shield basically. But it's
okay.
So the herdsman is basically the next step up, and this is what we refer to as earning your teeth.
Right. Okay. I didn't realize they were the same.
Yeah.
I was like,
so this is something that's been established by the founder, Dan Russell, who kind of first established Blodorn, and it's been an ongoing tradition through that, which is very much like Tom says. It's not about how much you've spent or your kit. It's very much an endurance, heart and perseverance and skill test.
Okay.
To do that, this is based on when we think someone's ready to do their teeth. Again, I will ask my warriors if I think someone's ready to do their teeth. Normally, this is done at like one of our events, whether it's like the Reckonings or whatever, but isn't necessarily. It could be just at a specific time where we've got warriors gathered together and someone's ready to do their teeth, really. So, like I said, that's mainly based on their fitness level and how good they've got themselves on the battlefield. and that is an endurance test. So it's 4 1-minute fights, one after the other, against the warriors. So we've got our warrior rank, which is the sort of beating heart of the group, which is people who've already done this, and have other sort of the main fighters within the group. So 4 of them will each do a minute with the guy earning their teeth, and essentially get beasted solidly for 4 minutes.
Which to anybody that's never done anything similar to this will be like, 4 minutes? That's not that long. Until you're in that position, in which case 4 minutes is a really, really long time. I guess in MMA or Muay Thai terms, it's like doing something called a Shark Tank, where you get like a fresh person in every minute. And those minutes when somebody's fresh are exhausting. And a minute is like sat here in a comfy chair, a minute is not that long. But when somebody's trying to either kick your head off or punch you in the face or swing a sword at you, it becomes a really long time, especially when your lungs feel like they want to burst, your muscles are fatigued. Like, you have to dig deep and figure it out. It's a long time, and it's a tough thing to do.
Yeah, you can put in a lot of strikes in a minute. Your arm starts getting really tired, even though you're willing and able. Your body isn't necessarily doing what you want it to, because you're gassed from the other 3 fights. So in order to pass that, we don't necessarily expect you to sort of win every fight, as it were. Like, it's not like boxing where we're counting up how many strikes you've done compared to how many strikes the fresh person's done. It's more about weathering the storm for the full time, and not just standing there and accepting the blows, but sort of being in the fight and staying sort of switched on, and also giving as good as you get.
Yeah, showing some heart, I guess.
100%. And that's quite sweet, because we used to do it just at the end of a training session, sort of quite casually before going to the pub after training. We'd do someone's teeth. Whereas, like, recently, within the last few years, people have obviously felt really proud of the fact that they are ready to do their teeth, and they've sort of got their family, their grandparents, their parents along, and
that's
it's
so sweet.
really sweet watching them give absolutely everything. But it's happened quite organically. At no point did we say, "Oh, this is something to get your family along to watch." It's just sort of turned out that way.
I bet little old grandma's terrified seeing her doting grandson getting absolutely smashed to pieces.
Absolutely. But then you can just see it on everyone's face when they do it, and they succeed, and they've sort of passed through it, but made like a real commitment to their hobby.
So yes, they've completed those 4 fights, then the warriors will then confer with the Jarl. The Jarl will then, essentially take vote as to whether or not they felt that they did what needed to be done, which, like you say, is demonstrated.
Tom, do you?
Yeah, essentially, that's it.
Do you give it the old Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator?
Yeah, and then we sacrifice them. And it's the celebration at that point. Is seeing everyone just rally around, because we've all gone through it. Like, sometimes you can forget it is such an exhausting thing. So yeah, that's quite a poignant moment for people when they earn their teeth.
Yeah, I think for anybody, just go and stand in front of a punch bag and hit it as hard as you can for a minute.
And then imagine the punch bag hitting you fresh every
yeah. Also hitting your bag. Just hitting a punch bag for a minute is tiring, let alone things also coming back at you.
That's it.
And
like shots coming in on your funny bone in the side of your knee, and you're hobbling through it, and then you get a dodgy one on the wrist, and you're like,
a bell ringer that takes you out of it for a second, and it's just
And also just knowing how to deal with those situations, because the first thing most people do in any combat is just hold the breath. Just go, and because you just hold your breath and you just like swing back, and then you're absolutely exhausted in 20 seconds. You've got to have the the wherewithal to be able to breathe through it and keep some sort of cool and calm whilst somebody's swinging an axe at you, which can't be an easy thing to do.
No, not at all. The whole psychology of it is, you've got to remain calm, but also you've got to not get too excited. I think most people get too excited in their first round and they put in too many strikes and they gas themselves out.
Yeah, I get that. So then they become a warrior, and is that where?
So the warrior rank
most people are
a lot more ceremonial, and to most it's incredibly meaningful because like earning the teeth is a rite of passage, but the warrior side of things is then the next progression to like Tom says, it's the heart and the core of the group. It's the most proficient fighters. It's a very select group, and I'll let Tom kind of explain the process behind it, but it is more meaningful. Less physical, but more meaningful as a ceremony.
Yeah, so doing your teeth, so to become a herdsman, that's basically the one that there's a physical initiation. So you're a herdsman, and you can be a herdsman for a fair while, to be honest. You could, if you never went over to Europe and did any of the big events, you could probably stay a herdsman forever. But basically, to be a warrior, you have to have been in at least a year. Most of the time, I wasn't quite in a year.
Showing off in there. Look at him. Not me.
No, I'm trying to remember.
It's the old now,
yeah. Mainly a year, apart from the exceptions when it wasn't a year, but mainly a year.
When there's a really incredible warrior. Who is that again, Phil?
No, I took a little bit longer. There was some internal politics, but that's why it becomes a meaningful thing because it is your brothers are voting it. It's not like a physical endurance test. It's very much a acceptance isn't necessarily there because it's already there, but it is a more personal experience within the group.
Okay. It's like an acknowledgement, and again, without sounding too crass, like it is the sort of brotherhood element of it as well. But yeah, you have to have been in a year. You have to have done a European show. So because we've been growing the UK scene, you always had to go out to Europe to get a really big fight. So out to Poland, out to Germany, out to France, because that's where the big fights were. So you have to have done at least one big fight, have been in a year, obviously have done your teeth as well. And also you have to be voted in by all of the warriors. If one person says no, then they essentially
veto.
Veto, that's the word I'm looking for. Veto the whole thing.
Do they have to give like an actual reason? It can't just be, I just think he's a bit of a dickhead.
Sometimes that's enough of a reason.
If you just don't, because if you just like personally don't like somebody and you just kind of don't, there's just a little bit something. Could you just be like, no? Or do you have to be like, oh, I don't think because?
We'd always ask for clarification of it. It's one of those things where what it really shows is the sort of bonds that you've built with all of the people within the group. So obviously when you're really good mates with someone, or if someone's come in and made themselves everyone's friend, then everyone's giving them the vote straight away. But also it could be down to even their fitness or something. They could have done their teeth and then not managed to make many training sessions or whatever else. Someone could have valid reasons, even though they were friends with someone. It's not necessarily just a popularity contest. It's also sort of whether they are exactly what we want to represent the heart of the group, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got internal politics and you've got friendships and you've got, just general sort of fighting fitness and heart.
It's conduct. It's and that's why it's the warrior status, because it is by definition of your conduct both on and off the field. So it encompasses so many different things. But so typically that as a ceremony is then done as a private kind of thing. So a fire will be lit, often in a wooded glen. And all of the warriors, the existing warriors, will then stand on their shields around the fire. The Jarl will then hold council there, and essentially the inductee or warrior is invited into that space. And then you go around that circle one by one to each of your brethren, and then you ask for their vote and the reasons behind it. And
I couldn't say no to someone's face like that. How could? Oh,
if it gets to that point, then it's like, if the ceremony's been established, then it's already been through that committee and discussed.
So you've already kind of asked.
So you're not going to invite somebody into that space and go, nah.
I was like,
but it allows that meaningful moment to go around to those bonds of each and every individual, warrior within the group, and then you have that personal moment together, because you've sweated, you've bled, together, you've traveled, you've been on adventures, you've done all of these things, so it becomes a far more poignant experience. And that's
do you ever give it the Simon Cowell moment of like, well, you're gonna, I'm really sorry to tell you, you're gonna have to get your shield, you're coming to Europe, and just give it like the whole backhanded.
Not quite, but the warrior is then gifted with a shield pendant, which, again, Tom being a blacksmith, it's quite nice that it's something that's handmade by a member of the group. So again, that's then becomes a symbol of your status within the group if you kind of do it. Unless, like with mine, I got given the wrong thing because it was so dark, and I was like, "What was this that he pulled out of his box?" That was rectified afterwards. But yeah, so it's a much more meaningful experience. And then more recently, because again, we've got partners and families and things. It used to be a very, very personal, whereas only the warriors. But now the outer circle and the entire group also witness that ceremony as well.
I bet any would-be dog walkers who stumble upon you would be like, the fuck is this?
They would be in for a shock. Well, they'd be worried if they were doing it at like 9 o'clock at night, going for a little dog walk.
Well, that's a different type of dog word. All right. So we got the steersman. Let's move on to that.
This was Tom's beloved red shield, which now represents something else.
Okay, so it isn't this now.
No, it is this one. But originally, that was, like Tom said, it was the second in command shield. Essentially, that was brought in, but it now represents something different in the group.
Okay.
Well, that too, really, at the same time. So everyone. So I am the
fourth.
Yeah, because Dan was twice.
Yeah, and technically you're Tom the second. Second of his name.
So, we've had a few guys running the group, different Jarls, and they've all had different ways of like choosing who their second is, essentially.
Okay.
So there's the second in command. So I was the second in command before Dan stepped down, and then I was just voted in as Jarl. So it made it very difficult, going from having that role as the second in command, as the steersman, to then being made a Jarl and then not necessarily knowing how you would choose your second in command. So what I did recently, which we've put into the charter, is that I amalgamated the steersman role with our group champion role. So often before the fights, you put forward a champion and you have essentially the best fighter in the group. And you know who the best fighter is in the group because they win everything.
Yeah.
So what I did is I brought in the fact that I was going to have the steersman role up for challenge every year and hold a tournament in September every year for them to then defend his shield.
That's
as a
cool.
steersman.
I like that.
So we've got that coming up in September. So Lee is my my steersman, my second in command, and he has almost been in that role for a year. In September, he's got to defend it because it could be anyone in the group. Even a recruit. Even a recruit could win it, essentially.
If he loses, does he have to give the shield over in like a...
Well, he'd just have to paint black on his on his shield, and someone would have to paint red, which I'm guessing would be a bittersweet moment.
Yeah, but how do you get around all the teeth? That's going to take forever in a keen little eye.
All part of the process.
I'd be fuming if I'd lost that and I had to get in between all those teeth with a little paintbrush. I'd be unhappy.
But yeah, he's got to defend it. So it's the first time we've done a sort of defense of the title. But yeah, I quite like it. I like the competition side of it. I like the fact that it's open to the whole group as well. So you could be a recruit and essentially get into the hierarchy of
Council.
Yeah, I like that.
Mm.
Is that going to be happening at the Reckoning?
So that's going to happen the week before,
2 weeks before Ancient Oak, yeah.
Oh,
so we might have a new steersman at the Reckoning, or we might still have our current steersman.
I love that. I like that kind of a blood sport type thing.
Well, that's why it's the blood red shield. Basically, it's like the WWE Championship belt, basically. So,
but everyone will get excited and be like, "Oh, I could get this."
Yeah, I mean, it's a brutal tournament as well. So I've been involved in a lot of different tournaments over the years of everyone's got different, you might even have it with jiu-jitsu, your different seeding things or however you do it where you pair up and then you have the winners in one thing and the losers in another side. But however you do a tournament, it's very easy dependent on the numbers for people to end up getting a buy-in because you didn't have the right amount of numbers. So they get into the next round, even though they lost their fight or whatever, or they just pick a straw and they get a really easy fight and then get into the finals because they had a couple of easy fights.
Route, yeah.
Yeah, no. So to be as sort of fair with it as possible, we just got everyone in the group or everyone that wanted to be part of the tournament to form in a big circle, and then you step into the circle and you have to fight everyone, and then we counted up how many wins versus how many losses they had when they were in the circle. So we then
that sounds exhausting.
It was exactly. Yeah. So you fight everyone one after the other.
For how when you say fight
to the win.
How do you determine the win?
2 skull, 2 hits.
We did a hit skull. So yeah, you got 2 hits, full body target. So you hit someone twice to get the win. So yeah, we counted up how many wins versus how many losses. Then we put the top half into another circle. Then you do it again, top half into a final circle, and that's how we determined our champion. So absolutely exhausting, but it does mean that the person with the most wins gets the title.
It's someone who's legitimately shown endurance and being able to fight under fatigue as well. 2 things that you really want. It's not just like say a lucky.
No, it's harder.
Is it?
It is harder.
Yeah, it's somebody who, because I know, like you say, a recruit could win it in theory, but if you had just like a round robin or a tournament format, they could kind of skirt through on lucky wins. Yeah. But in this way, whilst they could win it, it's guaranteed to be won by somebody that deserves it, that's really put in the work. And if it is a recruit, then they've actually earned it through blood and sweat, not kind of just an easy route.
Yeah, it's talent at that point.
Yeah, I like that. I like how you came up with the idea. Sounds awful, but I like that you did it. Yeah. So the Huskals, how do we get those guys? The Black Shield.
Yeah, so that's really just an acknowledgement of having been and maintained warrior status for a long time.
Okay.
So we don't actually have a huge amount of Huskals in the group at the moment, just because quite often they've been in the group for that long that they end up leaving the group or becoming of an age where they're not really going to maintain fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we only have 2 currently in the group.
2 currently active, yeah, because it also is used as an acknowledgement of those that have previously held the title of Jarl as well. So previous Jarls will also then kind of retain that shield because it's an acknowledgement. Basically, it is closer to the Jarl shield being completely black.
Yeah. How long have you been there, Phil? When are you going to get your Huskarl?
I think I'm coming on 4 years with Blodorn now because I joined like pandemic, like it was a weird time. A handful of us social distancing with swords, in a farm in the middle of Suffolk.
That's a way to keep distance.
Yeah. No, it was interesting, but because also alongside this we have the council, which is basically the representatives of like secretary, treasury, and like the functional roles within. As part of our charter and our hierarchy, is all of these roles are up for vote in our AGM. So it's not everyone holds those roles forever. Anyone can basically challenge and potentially gain votes and then take those roles. So the council is made up of those, and I sit on that from an organisational perspective. So using those terms, I don't know. To answer your question, that's a question for Tom. That's a question for Tom. When do I get my Huskarl sheet?
Well, like you say, Huskarl is often like based on having held a position and then stepping down or changing that position, or it's just that someone's been a warrior for like a long time. I think we did have a certain amount of years before, but I don't think we kind of currently have it in the charter because we changed.
I think it says 3 years on here.
After 3 years, they're eligible. Basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So
but it's not automatic.
It can be at any point, really.
All you have to do, Phil, is step down, and then it's yours.
It's more about finding poignant time for someone to be a Huskarl, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it.
And it just being like, well, you've been in 3 years, and we're just going to choose this one random event.
Yeah, I get that.
So it's more about finding like a time when it's poignant or it matters. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes complete sense.
As part of the kind of the hierarchy around it is, yes, there's different representations of it, but our core shield is that red and black shield. And everyone wears that with pride. It's why it's the shieldman and the warrior, the herdsman, like they all look that way. So it's nice to not have a huge amount of differentiation on the field. It's like with the teeth and the different levels. A lot of people take pride in those.
Yeah. I just can't imagine drawing those teeth on. Every time I look at them, I just think, oh,
stencils.
Because I'd want them to be all perfect, and if I got them wrong, I'd be furious.
If you get a cereal box and you cut out a triangle and then you just pencil around it, it probably takes about 15 minutes to paint them on.
Yeah, but what if you get all the way around and you get left with like a half tooth?
You've done it wrong.
The other side.
Pi times diameter.
Yeah. Sure. Do you give the maths to everybody who?
Well, it does change based on the circumference of your shield, but yeah, basically it's quite simple maths to divide it up based on how big of a tooth you want. Like obviously you can have loads of tiny teeth, and we did used to have more variety in how many teeth there were on the shields, but now we've got a fairly good uniform size of teeth on the shields. But definitely when I started, you had some people with very few big teeth because I think it was fast.
Yeah. And then, all right, the final one is the Jarl status, which you hold, Tom.
Yeah, so that's voted by the whole group. Again, if anyone wanted to veto that, I'd step down quite happily. It's not really a position that anyone particularly wants. In general, if someone wants it, there's probably a problem.
Okay, yeah.
It's now when the group started, the Jarl was Danny who started the group, and he sort of essentially ran everything, and there was a lot of responsibility, and it weighs quite heavy when you care about every aspect and every decision that gets made. we've changed over the years, like Phil touched on there. Well, we've got a council that runs separately to the fighting ranks. So that's, like I said, we've got group leader, we've got the secretary and events manager and treasurer. And so the three of us kind of share out the sort of the responsibility of running the group and the sort of realities of that.
Mm-hmm. Is it possible if somebody wanted to be Jarl, could they challenge you? Does it go to a duel?
That's the whole
is it all voted?
The AGM it's a forum for everyone to have that voice, and if they think they could do a better job, they're likely to. We had our last AGM, and anyone could have stepped up and challenged Tom for his his seat at the table. But if everyone's happy, everyone's happy.
I imagine it's hard work.
I'm always, like, at the AGM, quite happy to say, like, does anyone else want this role? Because
are you sure?
You're very welcome to it.
Yeah, I imagine there's a lot to it and a lot of thankless jobs that go into running something like this that people don't understand the amount of time that both of you will put in behind the scenes to make it work.
When you put it down on paper, like even on Phil's bio, like as the Jarl on paper, there isn't a huge amount that you actually like control. However, like the amount of time it spends in your head, or you're thinking about all the different people involved, or the logistics of stuff, or the running of stuff. Like, again, that's like a couple of words on a bio or a description. But actually, yeah, like I say, you do end up doing a lot of random jobs and a lot of things where you wouldn't necessarily have to if you were just a member of the group.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Back in the day where you could just sit on the back of the bus and just let everything
be a passenger to it. It would be nice, wouldn't
it? Yeah, I imagine that's fun to just kind of go along with it and enjoy it whilst other people organise it for you.
It happens, but like we're quite fortunate where the group is everyone mucks in and everyone muscles in. You'll always get different levels of commitment and different levels of contribution, but it's like anything. You need a couple people that just persevere, dig deep, and get shit sorted, and that's the council as well, because it is operations, finance, and marketing department. Without that, the business ain't running. But not that we're necessarily a business, but the logistics of it all. Like this weekend, we're doing the Suffolk Military Show, which is local to us, but then immediately we need to get everything from our camp and our group then loaded into a van to be able to drive out to Poland to do Volin next week. Then as soon as we get back from Volin, then we're doing Bloodstock Festival in Catton Hall in Derby. And then as soon as I finish that, then me and my partner are then flying out to Norway for Midgard's Blot. So it's just, the logistics and the operations of it all is just relentless.
Mm-hmm. Fun though.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You wouldn't do it if you didn't enjoy it, but
exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Let's wrap up the main show, because we've done an hour and 40, and if you guys have
live,
maybe an extra
not really.
If you have an extra 15 minutes, I'd like to, as part of the bonus little bit after, just talk about Volin and how terrifying I feel that sounds. Have you got a little bit after if we wrap up the main show now, and we'll just do
go for it?
I'm good.
Perfect. All right, so thank you for your time. And what about the social media, the kind of forward-facing side? Do you want to, for both of you individually and for the group, who wants to take the lead and go first?
You can find us on all good flavors of social media. So we're just Blodorn Englar, Blodorn Englar, which loosely translates as Blood Eagles of England. So yeah, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram, or you can subscribe to our Odin fans for exclusive content.
Nice. So, what about individually? Do you have your own platforms?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, but it ain't for your audience.
No, I don't think it is.
Spreadsheet Olympics, yeah.
Tom, do you have anything?
Not really. If you're interested in blacksmithing or metalwork, you can look at Tom Robinson Metalwork.
He's being humble. You definitely should. His stuff is awesome.
Yeah, that's
why
about
you wrote the bio of that film.
Yeah, damn right. Yeah, he puts himself down. He's the shit with it. I've got several of his artistic pieces myself. Plus, he made my new Dane axe for my birthday, and it's peak. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, have you got it? Have you got it there with you?
No, it's in the car, ready to dent some more helmets. It got its first
Are you allowed to
outing in Cumbria, and not a people liked being on the business end of it, shall we say?
Are you allowed to just leave that in your car?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, always got ready for war.
Yeah. Well, I guess. Or if you get pulled over, they're not like. Do you have to explain that?
There's been situations at customs crossing over the border where explanations have to be given on.
Okay. Oh yeah, because you said you drive over.
Yeah.
The reenactment weapons are weird in so much as it all depends on whether you view it as a weapon or whether it's a prop, because it's not really a weapon in the same way as, if something's a sharp, then it is, categorically a weapon. So leaving like a sharp sword in a car is not to be advised. But all of what we use are weapon-shaped objects. So they aren't weapons unless you are using them as an offensive weapon in the same way as you could use a ball-peen hammer or a
6 foot
garden.
Anything could be a weapon, Dan. You know this.
Especially the mind. Tom, I was looking at your website. You make some beautiful stuff.
Some of it.
some really beautiful things. Yeah. Definitely go and look at Tom's website.
I also run courses if you want to come on a course and learn how to forge an axe or make a knife or have a go at blacksmithing in any way.
Yeah, I think that's sell those. That's good. That's I'd love to do that. I could get going into that. Let's wrap up this, and then we'll continue in a minute. So if you enjoy the podcast, please leave us 5-star rating, positive review wherever you get your podcast, where you listen. And like I said before, pop over to Patreon/Nordic Mythology Podcast to get the whole back catalogue. So 250 plus episodes that aren't available anywhere else. And YouTube, subscribe, little bell, look at our faces. You can see my silly little face when I got invited to the reckoning and the smile I had. Perfect.